January the 27th, Tuesday. Yeah, I hope you're all doing extremely well. Look, first thing to say, this is the best community on this platform, hands down. Very, very fortunate to have you guys here. Very, very fortunate to have the community that we have on here. You guys are absolutely amazing. So the first thing to say is, let's get into this amazing community. Be respectful. Be respectful to the community. Be respectful to the moderators. Be respectful to yourselves. And obviously be respectful to me. Otherwise, the banhammer comes out, and this is something that we don't like to do. But look, I'm not a dictator of this chat, so I really do read out your comments, and that's sort of. And Scott, look, this is where I wanted to go today, my friend. This is why it's important. There's a couple of things I wanted to say as well at the top of the show about the channel as well. Some of the things that are going to change. Some may say for the positive, some may say for not, but it's something that needs to happen. And some stuff I want to say as well, because it is people are going to have their opinion. Anderson and Ugarte out with this, and again, look, we're going to cover that as well, because look, I've been accused already this morning. And look, people are going to have their opinion, and I'm not calling. Give me a second. I'm not calling anybody out, right? People are going to have their views. People are going to have their opinions on me, and people are going to have their opinions on the channel, and that's absolutely fine. This is that place. I don't get offended as such, unless there's abuse. Then that's But people are gonna have their views and opinions, and I wanted to say this first is that. What is quite clear to me in this fan base, and why I think we absolutely fell in this fan base, is because there's 2 wins, and look, I'm still buzzing off of that win, and we should absolutely try to get behind this team, get behind this coach, and look, let's see where this coach can get now. 2 wins, and. This fan base is acting like everything's okay. The Glazer movement is gone. Look, media, fan channels love all this, because it just means that then they can go back on talk. And again, we will talk about the spin today. There's so much spin out there, but look, we will go through it. I want your opinions if you've seen any of the transfers today. So there's 2 things really I wanted to say at the top of the show. Is look, number one, this channel is gonna slightly scale back slightly, and what I mean by that is, look, I need to scale it back for now, just because there are things that I need to do. Look, I'm still going to do watch-alongs. And I will come on to Ndidi as well. Look, I'm kind of scaling back the channel slightly on the basis that I'm not going to stream every single day. That I'm going to be more prescriptive. So, for example, there's not going to be an evening show every single night, and I'll tell you the reasons for that as well. I'm still probably going to do a daily show. I'll do a late show maybe on a Tuesday and a Wednesday. I'll cover every game. There's still going to be a Sunday show. I'm just going to sort of start to scale back the sort of evening shows, basically until the show gets to a certain size, and if this becomes a full-time job. Now, look, the reason for that is there's 2 reasons. One is, number one, I do suffer from a condition, and if you noticed on the show on Sunday night, it was a little bit erratic, a little bit, but that's because of the condition that I've got, and I just need to scale it back slightly because I need to look after myself. The only thing that's really going to happen for now is Min Jim says, I support your journey. Thanks, buddy. It just means that I'm just going to do some less late shows, but the late shows that I will do will be a Tuesday and a Thursday, and they'll be around like 9:30. So I'm going to be very, very prescriptive, and then I will do the games. So look, there's not going to be massive changes as such, but I just need to scale it back slightly, just because there are many different things happening. Now look, the other thing I wanted to say is this. So, and look, this for me just highlights why we fail as a fan base. And look, this is why Herbie says, "Good morning, JB. I hope the condition you have is manageable." And look, it is, Herbie, mate. It is, buddy. It is. It's just not. It's not going to threaten my life. Well, it's not going to. And look, it just means that for the time being, whilst I work full time, like I get told all of the time, go and get a job, and all sorts of stuff. Like, I've got a full-time job, and I also have to consider that as well. So look, it's the channel is still going to be the channel. I'm still going to be here. It's just the only major change really. It's just going to be the late shows. I'm going to be more prescriptive, and then as time continues, I'll ramp it up again. But it's just, for now, I just need to scale it back just for work. But look, nothing is really going to change really. Nikarutsu, good morning, and all. I hope you are doing well. Herbie says good morning. Look, guys, legends of the chat. Herbie legend, Nikarutsu legend, Scott legends. So the other thing I wanted to say is this. Now look, I genuinely can't believe this is something that I have to say. So my plan this week, and was always for the last 2 weeks, was to cover the protests, right? I've Henderson, mate, I love it, absolutely love it, my friend. So the protests, really important to me, and it's something that I planned to cover, something that I wanted to do, but basically, and I've been advised here, JB has 4 jobs: normal job, YouTube, and then being a Karutsu legend, my friend. So I've been advised. By authorities. So I've basically received. So obviously people do watch the channel. I get abuse all the time, right? I get abuse for being an online fan. I get abuse for all sorts of stuff. I've received messages, quite disgusting ones, that basically if I go to the protests, then basically bad things will happen. And look, I am not one to bow down to threats. Genuinely, don't give a shit. I don't believe in being hounded out of stuff. And I've been threatened, quite vile stuff, and these are people that are going to go to the protest. These and I'm not going to go too much into it. It's something not planned. I've booked hotels. I've got everything planned, but I've been advised that not to go. So it's amazing. It's amazing how and look, and these are not just YouTube threats. These are email threats. These are and look, I do not prescribe to threats. I literally couldn't give a shit. There are things that have happened to me, and look, I'm not going to go into that really. But there are things that have happened to me that I really like. I'm not bothered about it, but I do have to consider. I do have to consider my safety. I do have to consider my kids. And look, do you know what? If the protests are not inclusive of outsiders, it's clearly people want the Glazers out. So look, I've been, for whatever reason, excluded. So I'm not going to go. Because I've been advised. I've sought advice. If you want some protection, I can get the lads to look after you. Look, Scott, mate, I'm not bothered. But look, it's just not. It is worth my time, but it's not worth my time to be up there. I am not there to rile up a fan base. I am not there. My purpose there isn't to spark to spark stuff out there, right? My role in as I see it is to move on a conversation. So my role isn't to cause issues. I get it. So look, I just wanted to put that out there, is that I've been threatened by people who basically hide behind things. And I'm up front. I don't care. Look, I could sneak up there, but what's the point? So look, Scott, mate, look, there is nothing, mate. There is nothing. Nothing, mate. It's just not worth the time and effort. And look, I get it. I get it. Look, if you're an outsider, look, people don't like outside fans, and it's true. But people don't. So look, I'm fully behind it still. I think it's important to do. But on this occasion, I'm not one of there. It's been made clear that people don't want me there. So, and that this isn't just random people. This is just, I've been told by certain people that I've checked it out. I know to be true. But look, I'm still going to cover the game. It's their loss. I was going to give them maximum exposure. Going to give maximum exposure. So, but do you know what? I can still support the club, and I can still do that stuff. So look, I might as well just be honest, and look, it's not going to stop me from doing this. Nothing will stop me. So I just wanted to bring that into the show. I'm disappointed. I'm gutted. To be fair, but look, I get it. And maybe in time I'll be accepted into the wider community. But look, there are worse things in life. But look, guys, I absolutely respect the opinion. So look, let me get through some of these chats, because this is what we do on this channel. Let's get into it. Let's get into the proper stuff. Never mind all that stuff. Look, let's get into it. Nico says it's actually crazy that you get abuse just supporting the team colours. Look, look, people get support. Look, as much as I get threats, I get it. I do. Stand your ground, JB, and report these accounts. You want some protection? I'll get the lads in. Cheers, buddy. Jack says, Cunha, you're right, JB. Safety first, but don't put yourself in harm's way. Just think of your family and fans. Exactly. What kind of... Yeah, exactly. Unknown practitioner. Why is he being threatened? Well, United did well against the Gunners, and I will... Henderson, mate, can you imagine a big, massive moustache and a wig? Look, guys, I absolutely appreciate the support. Absolutely amazing, guys. You are legends. Loved you doing Arsenal made my weekend. Look, Anthony, mate, thank you, buddy. Look, it was I'll get through the chats, and I just wanted to say this. Is look, the weekend. Now, I am positive. I am going to go through some stuff. I think it's important to go through the stuff. I think it's important now we've moved away from the game. In other news, my wife says Carragher is good looking. Carragher out, says Herbie. Well, mate, you know what? What would? Yeah, let's get him out for Herbie. Cracks me up, buddy. Nick, look, guys. I mean, look, I keep my missus away from the football because just in case. So look, we are a couple of days outside of the win. Now, look, what a fantastic win! Look, I give these players enough stick, and it does. This is the De Gea kit. Love it. It's important. I give these players enough stick. And I've got to praise them as well. Look, that win, what a fantastic win, right? I love it. I absolutely love the fact that we won 3-2. Bruno played well. Dorgu, I mean, let's let's talk about fucking Dorgu for a second. I mean, you know, one thing as well that makes me laugh. But look, people are entitled to change their opinion on this. As what Henderson says, I feel like my soul was healed with those two results. And do you know what? I love that. I absolutely this is what all I want for this fan base. And look, you know, whilst and Sally says Dorgu is out for 10 weeks. This is why we need to sign players, by the way. This is why we need to sign players, and we can get on to all that stuff. Look, we've got a long show today. You guys need to see. You need to see Robbie got cooked. It's fantastic. You know, look, for the first time, it's so nice to be positive. It's so nice to come on here and talk about. Look, these players have shown. Look, I still don't trust these players, right? I still don't trust these players, and that's okay. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to, you know, on players. You know, Dorgu, people were slating him, right? This channel. Did you watch the clip? No, I haven't, Scott, but I promise you I will. And also, buddy, I've tracked down the football shirts. It's pissed me off, but I've tracked down with the football shirts. The football shirts will be here this week. I'm pissed off. I've complained, but I'm going to get the football shirts to you. They are out there. Expect them this week. I will watch it, my friend. I haven't. But look, it's fantastic. You know, people can change their mind. I love the fact that Dorgu was like, you know, he was getting slated, and now fans have changed their mind because he's playing well. And I've got no problem with that. You know, people will say, oh, you know, you can't change your mind on players. You know, you can do, because that is the beauty of this club of football, that you're allowed to change my mind. But look, I will watch it. Thanks, buddy. I will. So look, amazing win, and this now has to continue. Boy got humbled real fast and changed in attitude was hilarious. So positivity streak. Now let's get on to a slightly different angle on this before we get into the transfer stuff. I mean, Jesus Christ. So look, what is interesting to me is, look, as I say, I've been getting it's ridiculous the amount of email abuse that I've got. And look, I didn't come into this expecting everybody to like me. I've got thick skin. But the interesting thing to me is, and this is why the Glazers win, right? And I'm moving away from the team. That's positivity. I'm not getting into these players this week. They did a fantastic job, and long may that continue. But we wonder why we fail. This week I've got so much abuse because we've won 2 games. You know, look, I want us to win. I want us to win 2 games, and these, you know, and I get it. The Kings said, good morning, what a weekend. I'm still over the moon. Great win for us. Bottle FC was shocked. They couldn't believe what we did. Dorgu out for 2 months. I mean, just when you get a highlight of a player, he's out. I'm Amarin in Burma for Carrick when he subbed him, showed a maturity and hopefully good man management. Ahmad showed glimpses he can definitely play on the left. In Burma back to the right. Ahmad left. Kunishevsky down the middle. Sky's in the house. Sully's in the house as well. And look, these are the positivity things. No, Carrick, and I'll put a positive spin on that as well. You know, Carrick reminds me at the moment of Ollie, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, Roy Keane has had his things to say on that. You know, even if everyone got humbled at the weekend, a TV channel. Do you know what? Let me reverse back, right? Let's get into the weekend. Look, I've got a smile on my face, right? one of the things that I did say that I would love is if we beat them. Scott said, I'm seeing Valverde being linked to Arsenal. Oh, I tell you what, that would be absolutely disgraceful. And look, so, and this is it, Sully, right? Look, I'm not getting carried away after two. I subscribe to AFC TV just to give them some humble pie. I love it. Look, this reminds me of Ollie in terms of positivity's back, right? I get that. Mr. Chief was back, says Matt. The monkey, and look, it is. Look, Mr. Cheerful is back. Look, and Matt, I get it. I get called all sorts because Matt, people struggle with the truth. People want, and I get it. People don't want to be lied to, but people want Rosie. Give me a second. Amazon people. Look, people want rosiness, right? I get it, right? People want a rosy outlook on life. I get it. Look, Matt, I get it, mate. Look, the thing is, Matt, right? As you brought up, comment and look, respect the comment. Matt, I'm not going to sit here, mate, and I'm not going to be. I am happy. I am buzzing today. I'm happy, but we have won 2 games. Look how. I get it, but there's positivity. Look, if we get the next 4 games, the 5 games, and we win them, this is the problem. And what's really, really funny is that before these last 2 games, right, everybody was, this team, this club, spin. And because we've won 2 games, the whole world is supposed to change. And look, it is a fantastic result, and I am happy, but I'm not getting carried away because look, I guarantee you what will happen is that we'll be here again, and the same people, Matt. Like, don't get me wrong, Matt, I don't know you, buddy. I'm not calling you out, but I guarantee you'll be back, and you'll be, this team's shit again. This team's bad. And look, the one thing that you'll get from me is you'll get my truth. You'll get consistency. And I'm not fooled. Look, these players this week will absolutely get praise. They'll absolutely get praise. I think they've done a fantastic. I am happy this week, but I don't forgive the previous 14 games. We finished 15th last season. Look, these players are entitled to change. These players are entitled this week now. Carrick has done a fantastic job. These players have responded, and look, long may they respond. And I support this team. Celebrated goals, despite my lack of trust. But I'm not going to be fooled, and that's just me. And look, and if that bothers people that I'm not sitting here jumping up and down, oh, we won 2 games, we're back. I don't get that. I just don't get it. But look, if you guys want to say that we're back, if you think I'm a miserable sod, then that's fine. But look, I just think people can't handle the truth. People can't handle the truth. I get it. That people today want to live in a rosy world where Cole Palmer's come in, Anderson's come in. The world is great, because we won 2 games. I don't know what you want me to do with 2 games. But look, fantastic. Look, it is from where we were, and if Carrick can turn this around, just what an amazing thing to do. So, look, I'm fully in support of Carrick today. I'm fully in support of his team. Do I trust this team? But I support what a performance. And look, I am behind this team. If they can do that game after game after game, I'm absolutely behind this team. So, let's do that. But again, I wanted to say as well, look, and then I will move on from this, is, the reason why I mention this is because the amount of fucking abuse that I've received, one is stopping me from going to the protests. I've literally been advised by the police not to go. So that is how toxic and flippant even people that support the club and I'm supporting them are. But the abuse that I've gotten because we've won 2 games is it just and look, again, I'm not anti-fans. I will always support the fans, and I get it. Positivity. People want positivity. People and I absolutely back this fan base. I will, even if I get abuse, I do not, and I will not blame the fans, because we're starved of success and wins. And I hope Carrick goes on an unbeaten run. And let's get on to the manager debate again. So you've got Rio in one sense, and I will come on to the chat. So you've got Rio in one sense, who says that, give Carrick the job. I get that. There were fans saying that after the 2 games, give him the job. Salpia says, do you think that we're in a title race? No. Mathematically, are we? Yes. Yes. We are mathematically in a title race. Are we in a title race? No. Like, and this is what I wanted to really say today. Is this? It's so difficult today. It's so hard today, because as much as we've got this fantastic win, I'm buzzing. I'm looking forward to the game. I'm disappointed that I'm not going to go. But this is what we're getting, because we're setting ourselves up to fail. Let's concentrate on the top 4. Look, if we manage by some miracle, and look, I've got no problem. I love the guy. I love the fact that you guys on here are so positive about the results and so positive now. It's brilliant. That's exactly what we need. I love the fact, and I respect it, that you think that we're in a title race, and stranger things have happened. We have seemed to have hit some form. I think we're 12 points behind. Could 3rd be on? I'll let you guys at the moment. And fans dare to dream. And so we bloody should. We should be demanding 1st and 2nd. I say this, I literally demand every single season that we finish 1st or 2nd Champions League, not because I am arrogant, because I'm dumb. It's because those are the standards, and the fact that those standards are back because we are winning games, those standards should be there all of the time. And I love that view. Right now, for me, no. The problem with winning these 2 games, there's a positivity, but then there's a problem, because it's hope. It's hope. So look, I don't understand why we don't just enjoy this purple patch. Why we don't just take each game as it comes. Why don't we just take each game and just enjoy it? Look, there is nothing to lose. Look, we Amarin, for whatever people think about him, negative football, I've still got my support and views on that. But let's enjoy this. Let's not put pressure. Let's not put pressure on this team that they've got to achieve something this season. I think that they should be looking at top 4 and top 5. but let's enjoy it. Carrick has brought the feel good factor. Whether long term that's the thing. But look, let's enjoy it. Let's enjoy what Carrick's doing. He is changing the culture. He is playing the players in these positions. But we win 2 games, and now we're suddenly in a title race. I will say this. I've said once we get out of the back end of the City game and the game on the weekend, if we are in and around a top 4, then guess what? We are in a top 4 race now. And I'm not going to believe it more until we get through these next 4 games. But I'm loving the fact that I predicted we finished somewhere between 8th and 10th, and even I'm starting to come round to this. Even I'm starting to be fooled, and I love that. So look, I think that we're in a title race. No, but belief is there, and that's absolutely cool. So let me get back through the chat. As I say, I do read the chats. I think it's really important. Joe says, do you think a lot of United's problems have been down to poor tactics and low confidence? Because Carrick seems to have addressed these issues in results speak for themselves. And Jerry, it's important. Look, it is. Look, Amarin for me, was Amarin the right guy? Probably not. This sometimes this European management style doesn't work. This club is all about freedom. This club is all about expansive play. I still have my opinions on the discipline, but right here and now, this team it seems to respond positively to pats on the back, and if that's what it takes to get us 4th, that's fine. Look, if I've got my view and opinions on on how the best teams play, right? But if pats on the back and positivity for this club means that we win league titles, then that's what works for us. So, and I do think you're right, Jerry. I think tactically, just putting these players in the correct positions, going back to basics and just giving these players the confidence to go and express themselves, that seems to be working. Thanks, Matt. I hope these so far inept owners actually have a man ready to take charge, and that Carrick is ultimately give them a decisional headache from doing really well till the end of the season. So now the fear is we're now going to lose to Fulham. I fucking hope not, but that's been the way too often post Fergie. Tonali's too much of a loose cannon. Hello, is the truth Palmer coming too? I will get on to transfers as well. You barely beat the Gunners. Now you're talking about getting Cole Palmer. Look, Churlu, this is not us fans. This is driven from the media. This is not the fan base. This is not us going, let's go get Cole Palmer. Let's go get, this is driven by the media. And I'll give you my opinions on that as well. Ginsman says, Baleba is better than both Bruno and Tonali. So, yeah. Palmer hands in a transfer request, then a possibility and a very good replacement for Bruno. I do agree. People don't like Palmer. He has a very good IQ. Let's have a little look. Sky was in the chat. Absolute legend. Do you think we're in a title race? Sadly, no. I've been buzzing all week. I feel like calling Arsenal fans over, showing them mad and asking them, do you know what they are? Because you showed no balls on Sunday. The Cronkies and INEOS need to run. Chelsea Dorgu will take care of him, and he'll finally get to play in the Champions League. If Carrick isn't backed, I can see the performance of the team coming back to normal. Come on, man. We have 15. We have 15. Look, we've got 15 games left, right? And we've got 15 games left. We are 12 points behind, right? Are Arsenal gonna lose 4 games, and are we gonna win those 4 games that Arsenal lose? Look, I've got no problem in you guys thinking that we can win the Premier League. I've got no issue, But do you know how much 15 games are? Like, I'm not trying to dissuade anybody from it. Like, if you guys dream of winning the league, I dream of winning the league. If we get to 5 games and we are 3 points behind, 100%. But 15 games is no small amount, and Arsenal will have to lose 4 games. Arsenal will have to lose 4 games, and we will need to win at least 4 of those 15 games to even get back on terms. So look, I get it. That's new, guys. Like we said before, the real test of Fulham, Spurs, West Ham, and Toffees, similar energy performance. Who are Arsenal playing next? JB, if we win the next 5 games and City and Arsenal both drop points, would you consider us in a title race? We would need to get 6 points behind. Look, Scott, and I'm only talking about this. I don't prescribe to it. I don't. But in that situation, right? If we pressurize, if we win the next 5 games, I think that puts pressure on the top 3. As ridiculous as that sounds, you know that Newcastle season 12 points behind, and they bottle it. If we put pressure and we start winning games, the pressure will be on Villa. The pressure will be on City, the Chelseas, the Gunners, right? At that point, if if we win our next 5 games and we get to within 6 points, then it's on. But whether or not we can, but look, Scott, the important thing here is let's not get too far ahead. If we win the next 5 games and these teams drop points, a point like here and there, then we're in it. But Arsenal have to lose 4 games, and we've got to win those 4 games. And I think to be taken seriously as a fan base, I think that let's be quietly confident on getting back into some sort of top 4 race, and anything after that, mate, is an overachievement. Real test for Carrick ball is playing against teams that sit back and let the opposition have the ball. Still very tight from 4th to 11th. I agree, Sully, but if we go on a run, the top 3 drop points, we have every chance of getting even higher up the table. Standards from all teams have been poor this season. I think Arsenal will bottle it, and I think it will be either Villa or City for the trophy. Run it back to 95-96 season. You did it against Geordies. You can do it against the Gunners. Stop them from scamming a Prem title. And as I just said there, Amarin still have a part to play where we are in the league, and Carrick is building on that very well so far. If we go on a run, that lad gets his haircut. Dogger up for 10 to 12 weeks. I mean, that is gutting, isn't it? Yes, we should. So, Dalton says, respectfully, United are not in a title race. 13 points, really, as Arsenal's go different, will end up being amazing because of their defence. And, look, this is where we are today. I have to be the voice of reason. I don't have to be, but I sort of am. And let's take each game. And look, I love the positivity today. I love the fact that you guys think that we can get into a top 4 Premier League race. Arsenal have to lose 4 games. If this United team can go to Arsenal and beat them, as home teams can do the same. Dorgu injured for 10 weeks. Looking at the fixtures, I have a sneaky feeling Villa could do it. Give Carrick the job. Carrick at the wheel. We can come on to that as well. It's a bit premature to think that we're in a top race, but finishing within top 4 would be more realistic goal, as we are short of squad depth. And exactly, look, if you look at Dorgu, we've lost a Dorgu, and yes, we've got Cunha to come into that position, but Dorgu gives you something different. What happens if Cunha is injured? Dorgu was not a star player. Why are you worried by his injury? Look, Lion Tower, mate. Look, you know, there are players that come into a team and suddenly you become, Cristiano. Let me give you an example. Cristiano had to start somewhere, right? Now, whether Dorgu is not a star player, that's your view, but Dorgu is becoming a good player. You know, he's scored a couple of goals. He's been playing on the wing. He's improved as a player. You know, the last couple of games, Dorgu has been the star man. Whether you like that or not, and that's your view. My view is that Dorgu was becoming a pivotal player. Whether he'll become a superstar, only time will tell. But do you think Palmer will go to United? Seth, I will come on to that as well. I'll come on to the transfers as well. Spicy Chicken says, Guy said, why are we worried about Dorgu's injury? I know. Baleba has proven this season that he's a risk not worth headache. If he's another Sancho, 12 points in 15 games, we have to make up exactly. I'm happy with top 4 after the season. Fan bases are allowed to dream, but my team, Liverpool, are absolutely atrocious at the minute. And even if we got a new manager bounce from saying Klopp coming back, we wouldn't win the league. I do agree. It's important to know Arsenal goal difference is worth a point. Simonson says, hello buddy. I don't think we will win the Prem, but I want to see championship form for the rest of the season. I agree. Talking about winning the title is mental, and I do agree. Let's have a little look. Hi, says Partha, glory to Man United. In my opinion, I think Champions League is... And look, there's nothing wrong with having a dream. You have to dream a dream. I get that. But I think for me, look, Champions League football, from how we've managed to get into a top 4 race, into the conversation of a top 4 race, this was any other season, we just wouldn't be anywhere near it, right? But it doesn't matter. If this can be the catalyst for another season, if this can be the catalyst for getting the Champions League, I don't care how we get there. If this means, sometimes it is the right place at the right time, the right guy. Why can't Carrick be the guy? I don't know if we're going to make the same mistake, but Carrick, who's to say that this season was meant to happen? Who's to say that the catalyst for this season could be we get a top 4 and we stay there? Carrick could be Carrick could just be the right man at the right time. We get Champions League, everything could come together. We just don't know. But I just think we're so wanting for positivity. We're so wanting to get back to the Champions League. We're so wanting to win a league, and that's not a problem. We're almost. It's almost a bit like. Where I'm going to talk about it from a guy's perspective, right? It's almost a bit like when it's your first time, right? You get a bit excited. You think you're on top of the world. The act happens for the first time, and it literally lasts seconds, right? Because you get over excited. It happens, and you're just like, oh wow, like that was like done quickly. I thought I was going to be like a god in the sack, but it's over too quickly because you're so excited. You just go for it, right? Now, if you'd have just taken your time, took each moment like as it was, maybe you would have fed better. But we're getting so excited that we're basically gonna explode too fast. As Barry says, Palmer is nothing more than next season's Mason Mount. Chelsea player who grew up supporting United, who'd we pay over the odds for as he becomes clear why he's injury prone, typical United signing. Getting back in the top 4 race, we're in the top 4 race. We have to win 10 out of 12 in a row to stand a chance. I'm not Herbie says, no way would I back this team to win the league. Top 4 will be a hell of an achievement and worth celebrating the Champions League next season. I do agree with you. If any says, nice man. Arsenal are known as the bottlers, to be fair. Varat, Carly, respect button. Worried about Dorgu. I'm confident Arsenal can lose 4 games. I think we're looking at Prem winners at 82 points. Dorgu is 21. Yes, he is. What's happening with Rashford? Seth, I will come on to all of that as well. I'm just going to go through the chats. Liverpool are replacing Slot with Alonso. Who will United turn to? Ancelotti? I don't think they will, buddy. If you don't have a dream, how can you... Exactly. How can you... In the words of a Dizzy Rascal, if you don't have a dream, then how are you going to have a dream come true? In the words of Mr. Rascal. Logan Dina says, hello, buddy. I really hope Carrick is our guy. If one of the English teams win the Champions League, would it just be top 4, even with the best coefficient, or do we get 6th if the winners are not in top 5? I think Dorknight at the moment, I believe due to the coefficient right now, we get 5th. And I think you're right. I think if an English team wins it, I think 6th. I think 6th comes into it as well. Arsenal will win the league. Wasn't expecting the great analogy today. I exploded in my pants before them. Wolves or Burnley will win the league. Can't beat. I know, right? I'm personally hoping that PE teacher of Chelsea can pull a couple of miracles and Champions League. Even if Arsenal lose 4, we still have to win 12. Exactly. Dorgu is a modern day Saha. Mr. Rascal. Exactly. Looking like top 5. In a word for adversity, dare to dream. My name is That's Not Dizzy Rascal. That's a song from Happy Talk from the movie South Pacific. My name is, I know exactly where it's from. I know the song. I'm not afraid to admit that I've watched the South Pacific, but actually it is a Dizzy Rascal song as well. If you, I could play it for you. I could do, but I'm not going to because the video will get banned. But it is a Dizzy Rascal tune. But I know exactly. But thank you for educating us. But I've seen the film. I know where the film's from. But it is a Dizzy Rascal song as well. I agree with you about not letting things go fast. You need to last longer than a countdown conundrum. Exactly. So look. Let's get on to the transfers and we can go on to the Carrick stuff as well. So, let's talk about transfers. Let's talk about the spin. Let's talk about Ornstein. Let's go into all that stuff. So, Cole Palmer. Luckhurst, who we all know, I think was MEN, the son now. What's been said about Cole Palmer? Why give Dizzy Rascal he didn't? Because it's funny. Because it's funny. I mean, like, it is funny. It's not because I'm giving him credit, but it's just because it's funny. I think it's funny. If you listen to the song, the Dizzy Rascal version is utter crap. But I thought it was funny. But clearly not to everyone's taste. Is the South Pacific the movie where robots are controlled by humans? No, it's not. The South Pacific is I think it's a Rogers and Hammerstein one. Yeah, the South Pacific is Rogers and Hammerstein, I think. You're thinking of the one with Idris Elba in it, I think. You are the one carrying it on. Okay, cool. It says, we don't need Palmer. We need a CM who can hold the line and need them now ready for when Casemiro goes. And look, exactly. Getting your opinions on Cole Palmer. I'll give you my opinion. you give me yours as well. So Cole Palmer, look, it's been reported that Cole Palmer isn't happy. He wants to go back to the north, to Manchester, where he's from. And it's been put out there that robots controlled by humans is robots controlled by humans is West Ham. My name is, I love it, buddy. Pacific Rim. Now, Nikarutsu, Pacific Rim sounds like the name of a different sort of film that I've seen in the past. Pacific Rim. Yeah. Cole Palmer need to get surgery and time off instead of a crap blue coat is destroying him. You need a defense, and exactly this is what I wanted to get into. So look, the rumor is, and let's get on to the rumor, and then we'll get on to the player. So the rumor is that Cole Palmer wants to come back to the north, and if Cole Palmer had a choice, he would come to us because he's a fan. Thank God it's not called Pacific Rim. My name is You Are On It, my friend. Absolutely on it. You're absolutely on it, mate. I love it. Look, the rumour is Cole Palmer wants to come to the club. It's basically a bit like saying today's pissing down the rain. It's a bit like saying water is wet. The sky is blue. I like specific ring. It's just obvious, right? But Cole Palmer, I mean, is it true? Would he like to come back up north? Yes, I do think it's true. But we like, how does it happen? You know, as is said there, right? We need a midfielder. We need two, and we will come on to that as well. We need two there. We need a right back, arguably a left back. We need another striker. Exactly, Spicy. Water is wet, and that is exactly the point that I'm trying to make. Is a bit like saying that a northern person wants to go back up north. Is basically a bit like saying that water is wet. The sky is blue, the trees are green. You know, it is one of the most obvious things. Cole Palmer, look. Cole Palmer is, I get Mason Mount vibes. I keep saying this. A fit Cole Palmer would absolutely walk into most teams. He's a wonderful player, a wonderful player to watch. But the injuries, he's 23 years old, and it worries me. He's going to be upwards of 100. Look, if Isak is 140 million, right? Cole Palmer was signed on a 9-year deal. He's going to cost you 130 to 150, right? Why? It doesn't make sense. And look, let me tell you what this is about. This is about clicks. This is about headlines. You know, this is about channels for clicks. This is about club spin. You know, the club will absolutely allow this Cole Palmer story to be there. You know, you get people and fans who are lapping this up. Look, I hate to burst the bubble, but my question is how do we get a Cole Palmer? I don't want Cole Palmer. I've got no inclination. I've got no. I just don't want Cole Palmer. I think it would be a mistake. A Cole Palmer is what you get when you've got a built squad. When you've got a built squad, and you want to just add in that extra layer. But Cole Palmer, for me, as somebody said there, injury prone. I don't want to get stuck with enough. Can you imagine a Mason Mount again, but 140 million? It would be banter time. You know, Liverpool. You look at them. They've signed a 130 million pound striker who's injured. So Cole Palmer for me is a no. It's spin. To me right now, it is nothing but spin. Unless Cole Palmer forces a move to get that price down. Is anything impossible? No. But for me, I think we absolutely need a midfield player. So look, I don't wish to be the bearer of some bad news, but it's just not going to happen. Could it happen? Anything is possible. But if you look at the finances involved, the finances that we've got, forget about it. So let me go through the chats before I go on to the next frustrating stuff. Let's have a look at what we're saying. Cole Palmer needs surgery. United need a defensive midfield as Casemiro is gone. Why don't we look at Stiller? I do agree with you. I do like Stiller. You guys don't know if the rumour is true. 100% take Cole Palmer. There you go. I'm a Brighton fan, but underwhelmed by yeah. I mean, Brighton's season it is right, but I think realistically with a Brighton, what do Brighton fans expect now? Do you expect to push on? Do you expect just to kind of maintain the status quo? I'm interested actually to what the Brighton fans think about their club. Do you want to kick on to that next phase? You're a fantastically well run club. You pick your coaches extremely well. It almost feels like with Brighton, it's almost the end of a project in this phase. It almost feels like you need a new phase. You need a way to kick on, and I don't know how you do that. Henderson says we need to stop signing. Chelsea players winning titles when you've been complaining all season. Go back to sleep, mate. Chicken, we don't need him. We've got a good attack. I'll let you. Nico says I'd like to have Jurgen Strand last. I don't disagree with that. I think he'd be a good addition. I like Chelsea. They keep giving Brighton loads of money for players. I think Blueco are having problems dealing with Palmer behind those rumours to desensitise the Chelsea faithful. Let's have a little look. Keep going. I actually think we're better off not signing anyone now. Kevin says Anderson is an 8 and not 6. Even at Forest he plays with Sangera, who is a 6. Wait till the summer. I want to ask you a question, sir. You can ask away, my friend. I kind of respect us for kicking on now to the next phase for sure. So look, next rumour, and look, people have different opinions, right? Whether we sign or player or not, Ndidi seems to be the player on everybody's lips. Look, it will be an uninspired signing, but look, I do agree that if we're just going to sign shit, don't sign the shit. But at the same time, we need to go sign players. I am not bowing down to this rhetoric that we can't sign players in this window. We can't because financially we are tied. But a big club would just go and get players. Semenyo, Aguehi, big clubs, that is what they go and do. I'm not buying it. I don't buy it, but look, I get it. David Ornstein. Look, David Ornstein is, he is the GOAT. Do you think there's any possibility of winning the league? Look, there's always a possibility. Mathematically, yes. I don't think that we will, but no, David Ornstein, and again, I detest this, but look, I've got to put it out there. My name is great result for us versus Arsenal. They deserved it, and no fluke. I do agree with you. Yeah, guys, we need to we do need to we do need to have a chat on it. Okay, look, we can have a chat. Liverpool is proof that you can spend big and still crumble. Do you think Carrick should be a full-time replacement? Look, Harvey, mate. you know, do I think the Carrick should be a full-time replacement? Look, it's difficult for me after 2 games. Maybe if we get to the end of the season, then maybe we sort of like have that chat. Then we will sort of like have that chat. I love Rashford's spicy chicken wings. You know, and we can get on to that stuff as well. So look, the midfield targets. Look, Ornstein has put this out there again. Look, you know, Ornstein, you know, he is a legend. He gets, well, not to me, but he gets things from the club. David Ornstein is basically the mouthpiece of this club. You know, he a man's got to eat, right? A man's got to eat. Is Mason Mount fit? Show them. Is he fit? I don't know. I don't think he's getting a game because I just don't think he's fully fit. To be fair, you know. But let's see. I think we are going to have to use him at some point. So look, Ornstein. Let's get on to Ornstein. Ornstein is a legend, right? To many of you guys, Ornstein gets stuff. Just a side note, my brother plays for League One or Orient, mate. In Orient, I've played at Orient, so God, about Jesus Christ, about 17 years ago, playing for a like a Sunday league team, and we did like an event there. So beforehand, we played the Leyton Orient under 21s. Fucking annihilated. It is ridiculous, you know. Professional football players, even at that age, back in 2008 or 9 or whenever it was, ridiculous, right? But we played on the pitch, so it was my team against the police. I scored an absolute worldie. So whenever anybody mentions them to me, I just think back and I scored an absolute worldie. But look, I massive respect. Orient, you know, absolute. Orient are one of those like classic, like historic good teams. Like I really, really like Orient. Yeah, he's top scorer in the leagues. Look, I love hearing that, mate. Was stinging. Oh, my name is, mate. You're an absolute legend, mate. You were on it today. You were on it. Did the tripod score a banger, JB, mate? The tripod, mate, scored an absolute banger, mate. It was. I was prime. I was 20. What was I? Would have been 20, 25. The 25, 27. Mate, I was absolute prime. You know, the goalkeeper was probably, you know, shit. Scored a banger. Dom Ballard, that's my brother. Look, mate, absolute legend. Look, massive big up to Dom. Look, I love hearing stories about people's family members playing football. It is, you know, it is a difficult thing to get, you know, into. Mate, that would be awesome. So look, massive respect to. My name is massive respect to Dominic. I'm guessing, mate. It would be amazing. So look, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed for Orient. Fingers crossed for Dom as well. So fingers crossed, buddy. Would he give Sheska a run for his money at United? I love it. So look, Ornstein. Let's get through Ornstein. Look, Ornstein is a mouthpiece for this club. You know, I don't blame him. You know, if you listen to the summer, Ornstein did his podcast, and basically he said what what the club said. You know, the players that we don't get now, we'll push them to the next window, and we'll look to get them to the window. This club is struggling now for positivity. They have put out Casemiro, hoping that that would distract the fan base. I think they've been fucking lucky, the fact that we've beaten City and Arsenal. I don't think they were lucky wins. I just mean that they're fortunate that that's managed to happen. They're lucky. So Ornstein now is doing his job. You know, he's spinning his fan base. Baleba and Anderson and Wharton. It's all summer. It's all summer. Would Prime JB outscore floppers? Hell yeah, mate. I'd outscore. No. Yes, I would. I would outscore him. You know, all day long. You know. So you know, Ornstein is putting out. Spiceman. I'm jealous of his hair, mate. I used to have jet black, thick hair. Used to be all nice and, you know, all nice and thick and stuff, and now it's grey. It's like straw. I'm jealous of his hair. Look, Ornstein is doing his job. I don't blame him for that, but it's just boring. It's fucking boring. You know, whenever stuff is not going our way, whenever, you know, whenever this club needs a piece to spin us over the line, they get Ornstein. Ornstein comes in and he regurgitates. He fucking regurgitates Baleba and Anderson and Wharton. You know, these are summer signings. Supporting United gave you grey hair. No, mate, it's my shitty. Yeah, it's my family's gene pool. Summertime, like, why do I give a shit about summer? You know, again, it's to basically distract us from the fact that we're trying to get Champions League football. Why aren't we going to sign a player? You know, we're going to sign a shitty signing. You know, it's just I don't mind. You know, I've got no problem with the links, but it's just this has been regurgitated over and over again, and Ornstein is fueling this shit. And I would applaud this club if they go out and go and get a massive signing in this window, but they won't do. It's just spin and nonsense. And you know, I brought it into the show. I just think he's just fucking ludicrous. My name is. You think United are better defensively with Maguire back in contention? I do. I do. I really. I like him. I do. I think when we play a low block and we need that defensive base, I think he's brilliant. But my only problem is, when we're playing that low block, what happens when we have to go and attack teams? Can Maguire, can he move up the pitch? But Maguire, again, he's had a purple patch this season. Massive respect to him, and long may it continue. My name is says, I've done that one. He touches his hair more than the ball. It's a World Cup summer, so get ready for outrageous prices. Exactly. We need someone to communicate with the back line. That's what he does. Yeah, I do agree with you. Why does he get dissed so much? Always seems decent to me. I think Maguire's problem was always the price tag. It wasn't his fault, you know. And I think that the captaincy, Henderson, agree that tackle, for such a big man to get down, that tackle was absolutely sublime. And look, you know, I think he got dissed because I do think that the captaincy weighed heavy. But Maguire, you know, I can see why City wanted him in some respects. Look, he's coming towards the end of his career, but he seems to be getting better. So look, I've got all the time in the word. Lee Tunnock, would I give Maguire a 1+1? Yes, I would. Yes, I would. If because we can't get rid of all that experience, and I'm not talking title winning experience. I think that we need a little bit of experience in there, and I think that I would do a 1+1. You need another Keane of vintage character. Agree, buddy. I do agree completely. I think we need somebody to grab this team by the scruff of the neck, and get them through games. Spice says a lot of United players get dissed, mostly by fickle fans. Shinam says hope Cunha and Mount perform like Dorgu on the left. Don't make them like that anymore. Exactly. Maguire has captain traits. He does. So look, the Baleba stuff and all that stuff, fine. Ornstein, and look, I just wanted really to basically ask this question really towards the end of the show is, after the Arsenal win, which again I'm buzzing from, positivity should be there completely. Where do we go? What does it mean? What does it mean? And I am with you, Scott. I think that De Ligt would be a good captain. Where do we go? Where do we go? Look, we've Sharon says Anderson and Baleba will be United players. Now look, Shubnam, to be in the conversation, Baleba I think will come anyway. To be in the Anderson chat, we need to be in the Champions League. If we're not in the Champions League, I still say Anderson goes to a City. But if we are in the conversation for that, we need to be in the Champions League. So unless we are in the Champions League, forget it. So if we are, then I think we stand a chance. But again, I think to say that we're definitely going to get these players at this point in time is ridiculous. How do we look? If we don't get Champions League, I don't think people realise the dire situation financially. And this is not what's being reported. All that's being reported is we're going to get these players. If we don't get Champions League, we lose 80 million at the end of the season. We're already 45 million pounds in debt. So that's 135 before we've even started. How do we get these players without Champions League? So all I'm saying here is, look, believe in these players. This is why top four is so important. But if we don't, how do we afford these players? The simple answer is we don't. So Champions League is everything for the season. I thought 100 million for Champions League. And look, right, if we qualify for the Champions League, don't forget this, right? We finished 15th last season. Every place up the Premier League is roughly 3 million. So if we jump from 15th to 5th or 4th, that's 30 million extra, right? With the money for the Champions League, you basically have wiped out that debt. You've basically wiped out the losses that you've made for the season, and you wipe out the loss. So this is why it's so important to finish 4th. Also as well, yes, it is, but it's worth more than that, because you've got sponsorship deals, more home games, the better players. So look, it is worth more than that. Lee says we need to beat the next 3, get 5 wins under our belt. We need to show intent in the market. We also need to recognise that we've only got league games this season. If Baleba is a good price, get him. And look, Lee, I can agree with you more, mate. I could not agree with you more, buddy. I think you're spot on. I do. Lucky Shamrock says, do you think United will go for Nagelsmann as the manager? He has said he's leaving German national side after the World Cup. I think anything is possible. The only thing I am going to say to you is this: United United will do it on the cheap. United don't want to spend money. You know, if the perfect situation for us is this: we finish third or fourth, Champions League, Carrick stays because then they don't have to pay a manager a bunch of money. You know, Carrick will pretty much do the job for half the price of a Nagelsmann and Ancelotti. So I wouldn't rule it out, but again, a lot depends on Champions League. A lot depends on that, and I do agree with spicy chicken wings. We need Champions League at all costs next season. If we do not get into the Champions League, it is going to be financially crippling. CR7 says, "Hi man, how are you doing? Let's go, but we shouldn't get overconfident." And look, and this is what I wanted to end the show on. Really, is look, I heard Big Sam is interested, mate. Big Sam is too busy doing the adverts with Pardew. The question really I want to kind of end on and ask a question is, where do we go? We've got 2 wins, 2 fantastic wins. Where do we go from here? You know, again, at the top of the show, I've received probably more abuse. And look, I'm old enough, thick-skinned. I didn't do this not expecting abuse. It's wrong, but look, I'm not. I've got thick skin. The interesting thing to me is I've received more abuse, and some of it fucking vile, and even abuse to the fact that I had plans on the weekend to go to the protests, to go to the game, but I've basically been told by the police, I've been told by all sorts of people that not to go. It is what it is. But I've also received so much abuse on the basis that because we've won 2 games that I'm a fake fan, because I'm not jumping on the bandwagon. I'm X, Y, and Z because, you know, I'm not, you know, promoting the team enough, you know, because I'm not saying that we're going to get into the Champions League, because I'm not saying that we're going to get the top few. I've had more abuse in the last 2 days because I refuse to jump up and down and jump on the bandwagon, right? I'm of the opinion that we shouldn't get carried away. We just need to take it game by game for us to be taken seriously as a fan base. I also believe that these players can't handle the weight of expectation. So I think that these players just need to go from game to game. Look, I'm going to support these players now. You know, look, whether I like some of these players or not, whether I think the captain should be a captain, they've got to have praise this week. And if it means I've got to tickle their tummy, tell them that they are the best thing in the world, if I've got to put praise in these players to make them do well, these are the players that we've got. These are the players that are going to do a job. These are the players that are going to get us over the line. So I've got zero choice. Whether I like them or not, we are stuck with these players. So these are the players that we've got. But look, you know, I'm not fooled by these players. I want to take it game by game. So where does it put us? 2 games won against the top 2 teams. It goes to prove what Amarin said. Amarin said that this team is capable of beating any team, and they've proved it. They've proved that this, and I never thought that I would be saying this, right? But they've proved that on their day they are one of the best teams in the Premier League. Now, are they the best? No, but they've proved these two games are fantastic, but they're also not good for some of these players, because they've got to do this every single week. They've got to turn up now every single week. We all know now, again, categorically, that these players can turn it on and off. These players have to keep on the light switch every single game. And this is why I am not jumping on the bandwagon, not because I don't think that it can happen, not because I don't think that we're in a top 4 race. I've seen this movie before. I've seen it this season. Can we beat Fulham at home? Can we beat Spurs? Let's get through those tests. Can we go away and win those games? And then if we do that and we win, if we win 5 games on the bounce, then we've given ourselves a platform. And I so want to keep praising these players. I so want to be proved wrong, because it means if I'm wrong, then this fan base is right. It just means that you guys are right. And I would love to be proved wrong this season. I want to jump back on board and be like, these players have shown a mentality that I never believed was there. Even to the point where we win every single game, right? I'll still be waiting for that collapse again. So look, it's gonna take a while. But I think this win, what it's done is given us a platform to go on and do something positive. Let's get through the chats. I hope Carrick succeeds. If Carrick does that, if the team looks and plays like a team until the end of the season, that I'll be in for Carrick. Palmer to United, there are rumours. What do you think, mate? It is a load of bollocks. I don't believe it at all. Lee says Baleba with Xerxes or Lacey going the other way on loan. As I make great Xerxes go, Baleba come in. I'd love that to happen. We need to see how we're okay against the mid-table teams. Ronnie won't retire until he gets 1,000 goals. Oh God, don't say it's possible, Scott. JB, have you seen 5 clubs United would like? Have you seen the 5 clubs United would like to buy? No. I liked and subbed. You're a legend. Thank you, Spicy, mate. Absolute legend. Thank you, my friend. That's communist Stasi mentality. Any striker, try getting to the point. Look, Luke, my friend, if you don't like it, this is what we do on here, Luke. We talk, mate. I go through the chats. We talk about it, Luke. If you want sensationalism and you want to go straight to the point, Luke, there are different channels, mate. Any striker links if we sell Xerxes? Nope. You boys are coming togetherness. It's possible, Scott, but it's not realistic. Minority of football fans have the IQ of a bucket of bin juice. I love it. Can't believe Dorgu has done his hamstring. Exactly. Top 6 at least, as standard has now been set. It's on them. Back to work for me. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thanks, buddy. Ask JB if I've said all season. Yeah, and yes, Scott has been adamant all season. Scott has been adamant that we'll finish 4th and 5th. I've been adamant that we've finished 8th or 10th. My mind can change, but I own that. I've said 8th and 10th all season. If I change my mind, I'm entitled to do so, but I will live by that. I would say even if we finish top 4, and I say top 4 is on, I wasn't right. Have a great day. Work spicy. Brad says Palmer is not the right option for us, and transfer fee will be too expensive. Also, he's currently injury prone. Most of his goals are penalties, says Brad. If Carrick stays, do you think he'll want any of our loanees back? Yes, I do. I do think he will. I think he'll want Amas back. I know Amas has gone on loan again. I do think he will. Carrick done that one. Harding says, look, I like fans being real about how they feel. I'm just happy for the wins, but we're not there yet. Just came across you on YouTube. Things made me follow you. Do you? It's real life. Not everyone will like. From Grant, thanks, buddy. Look, it's true. It's true. Not everyone in life will like the things that you do. And sometimes the reason why you get threats is because people are threatened by the things that you say. Not because they're scared in that sort of way. It's just because people don't like the truth. And that's fine. Thoughts on Dorgu's hamstring? I think I'm gutted. I'm gutted for him. Luke says it's about being coached. It's not just the players. Amarin was playing square pegs in the round holes in the system that didn't work, and being too stubborn to change, having no plan B is we're bad. And Luke, you've got a point. Look, Luke, you've got such a good point. And with every single game, every single win, putting these players in their position, Luke, the more and more you guys probably are going to be proved right. And at the end of the season, we can talk about it kind of more then, right? Because, it looks like you guys who are Amarin right, your point is starting to get made. There is a reason, there is a caveat. Well, I don't blame him fully. But we can get onto that and give you a spoiler alert, right? Was Amarin probably the wrong guy? Probably, yes, he was. But those are the reasons why Wilcox and an Omar needed to do their homework. And was he the bad guy? There were still things that I admire that he did, but the staunchest of Amarin fans, including myself, I've got no problem in saying, I was wrong. I said it'll be finished between 8th and 10th. I'm probably going to be wrong. But I think, look, I've always said this. It's really, really important. Amarin in and Amarin outers. It's really important to get both sides of the coin, and we will talk about it. We will talk about it. Spice says, "Thanks for noticing me." I like Xerxes. Thing is, I love about Carrick is the squad. And the one thing I do love about that as well is he's very he'll go for it. JB Ronaldo said he would like to buy Al Nassr, Sporting or United, when two clubs from Spain. I mean, that would be awesome. George Carr says, hi, hello buddy. I have a very big hot take. Go on, Ray. Ray, give us your hot take. The time is now to build up and just focus on the future. I like Amarin, but his stubbornness needed to change. His tactics are never going to work. I've no problem saying JB was wrong either, says Henderson. No, I love it, buddy. Carrick is the best coach in the world. I like that players love. Agreed with you. I do like him how they like him. So Ray Simpson, give us your hot take, buddy. Give us your hot take. Amarin may not be the guy, but he really drilled them boys in terms of 1-2s. And the one thing I will say about Amarin is this: he got rid of the dead word. I'll say this for him: if we can take anything away from him, he had the balls to get rid of these players. So in terms of a rebuild, sometimes you've got to get rid of those players who shouldn't be here, and that's what he did. And I absolutely admire that. Whether Amarin was the correct coach, probably not. But there were certain things that I liked, certain things that he did. There's certain things that he exposed. But you guys could be right. So Ray Simpson says, here's a hot take. My big hot take is Amarin was to blame for his own downfall. I think he got in over his head. He questioned the board. Amarin walked in, tried something, it failed, and panicked, and the players saw that. I don't think that's a hot take, mate. I don't think it is. I agree with you. I agree with you. I think Amarin came in. I think he was over his head. And I'll give you a quick reason why. Because Amarin was in awe of players. Amarin was in awe of Bruno Fernandes. Danny, legend, buddy. Hope you're doing extremely well. He was in over his head. Amarin was probably the right guy at the wrong time, but also, we play a back four. We play a back four. That is what we play. We are predominantly a back four side. I call it player power as well. Look, we've seen player power in full in just action, right? When these players don't like a coach, they don't buy into it at all. Look, these players, we know what these players are. I know what these players are. There's no coincidence that Carragher's come into the side. He's their best mate, and they started to play. It is what it is, right? Amarin, I think, was in over his head at the moment. I agree with you about the stubbornness. One thing that I said, and it's all there, is that if I was Amarin, what I would have done is I would have played these players at their own game. And I would have said, look, guys, fine, let's go back to a back four. Let's play you guys. You guys can play in your positions. What happens, happens. I'll be your mate. I'll be your pal. Let's play this stuff. Let's basically, Amarin should have said, I'm going to get through the season and I'm going to use you guys the same as you're going to use me. And then I would have got to the end of the season and fucked them all off and said, right, now we've got to the end of the season. I've had to change my tactics. I've had to change my whole ethos. We've got to the sort of end of the season. Now, guess what, guys? Piss off. You get rid of a Luke Shaw, you get rid of a Maguire, and I'm not. What I'm saying is that then he should have done that. Played these players at their game. But I think Amarin knew Amarin wasn't going to get his players. I think ultimately the reason why Amarin went was because he knew he wasn't going to get his players. Wilcox, and I think this again is being missed because we've won 2 games. Amarin, he was told that Wilcox is a frustrated manager, right? He was told that behind the scenes. So all this right now is being forgotten, and this is why there was just so many different reasons why he failed. And look, we can talk about this more. We can talk about this more towards the back end of the season. But I am right now. I think we've got to use this as a catalyst. And look, the players now have got a platform. I've got a platform to do something. Over to them. Let's get through the chat. Amarin's stubbornness will be his downfall. He did get sacked. You call it play powers, but the players won't listen to somebody if they don't believe in the coach or the manager. Dorgu injury is massive to the squad. I do agree with you. Funny, Amarin learnt from Jose, but he never learnt. Changing your style to adapt isn't the sign of failure. I can see Amarin going somewhere and making it work. Garnacho was childish. He was. I do agree. Wilcox is a butt nugget, says Scott. It seems like every time a player is in form, they get injured, and it's always an extensive injury. It feels like a curse. Carragher is pulling a page straight out of Ancelotti's playbook. So look, guys, I'm going to go. Fantastic show today. As I say, things are going to slightly change in terms of I'm not going to do a late show every single day. I'm going to do a late show on a Tuesday and a Thursday. And I'm going to try to do a kind of everyday show. It may not happen. I'm going to do a Tuesday day show, a Tuesday evening show, Thursday day show, evening show as well, and then I'll definitely do one on Monday. I might not do anything on a Wednesday, and then I'll do things on a Friday. And of course, I will be covering the games. I will be doing that sort of stuff. So the only thing that's going to really change is I'm going to have a Wednesday off, and then I probably won't do an evening show on a Monday, on a Wednesday, and maybe a Friday. But look, I've got to scale it back slightly, just work and that sort of stuff as well. I'm just purely for my own mental health. So look, guys. What about Monday, Wednesday, Thursday? Yeah. So look, I'll do a daily show on a Monday, daily show on a Friday. I'm not going to do anything on a Wednesday unless it's breaking news. Then I will do it on a Wednesday, but I'm giving myself a Wednesday off. I just have to. And yeah, you know, like and then when things improve, I will come back and I will do a full content stream as well. But look, you know, it's depending on work and depending on the channel. So look, guys, absolute legends. Nick says, have an amazing day, my friends. Stay safe and don't be attending the protest as advised by the police unless you want to end up in the cells for scrapping. Mate, I've taken that advice, and yeah, look, you know, I'm going to end the show on look, you know, I absolutely plan to do the protests, but you know, I've been told, but under no circumstances to attend by certain, and these are not just people who are pissed off. So look, I tried to do my bit. I will absolutely still support it, but you know, it is what it is. So look, guys, legends of the channel, I will be back tonight. It is a Tuesday, so I will do a late show tonight. I'll probably be in and around 9:30. I'm going to start to structure a show around probably around about 9:30. Guys, a legend, thank you for supporting the channel. Want me to be hard, JB? That's all there, and it is, mate. No, it is. It is, mate. Like I literally, I don't care. I mean, there are things that have happened to me, mate, that I am not bothered. Worse things, but I don't want to make. I don't want to be a creator that goes into a situation and makes it about me. Because if I then start to take the channel and I start making the channel about me, it moves it away from a conversation about the club. So I don't want to. It's, for me, it's more about, I'm not taking this channel to those depths. You know, I could be there, create some content, film people giving me shit, bring it on here and call. No. If I can't add to a conversation in a positive way, then I'm not going to do it, because there is just no point. I take it away from the protests, and I'm not going to make it about me, because this channel is not about that. Look, the plan is again, I will go up to a game at some point, but you know, I'll just leave people to their agendas. I'll leave people to their stuff, and we keep doing what we do on here. That's all right. Greth Vanderberg will probably be at the protest in your place. Hello. So look, guys, legends, I will be back this evening. It's Tuesday, the Tuesday night show. I won't be back tomorrow. If anything does break, I will be back. Oh yeah, I hate Goldbridge. What a depressing cretin, says spicy chicken wings. Look, you guys are legends. You know, don't ever underestimate the impact you have on this channel. You know, look, just because one like makes all of the difference. You know, comment. You know, look, this channel doesn't exist without you guys. So look, massive thank you to you guys. And look, have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm JB. This is the United Devil channel. You guys are legends, and I'll be back this evening. Take care.